cellar, tank room, and laboratory area. The laboratory area back in the corner back there has enough room for us to do a lot of our testing in. So we do our pH and our TA and our SO2 and our alcohol testing there, and can get quite a bit there. We do our blends there, and we do a lot of our just our different trials. So Friday afternoon is a real tough day here, but we do pretty good. And then we have a semi-automatic system of bottling here. So we started the sink, and then we can go forward all across here. So although it's just a bunch of shelves, we have each piece of equipment can do fairly high volumes of wine. We can bottle almost 30 cases an hour here.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So goodness. It starts at our 4-bottle filler. I don't have it set up right now. We have our corker there. That's our label machine, and we can do over 2,000 bottles an hour with that.
Wow.
And so we have to handle the bottle from machine to machine, so there's nothing that takes it from machine to machine. But we use about 5 or 6 people and manually transfer the bottles to each, and can get a fair amount of volume out of that. So it's pretty good. So we can do all of our crushing here, our apple crushing, our pressing, everything. We have all the equipment. It's fairly medium in nature, so we get lots of use out of it. One thing that is different in fruit wines is that you can produce 3 times a year. So we only need a third of the equipment as a grape winery to produce the same volume as them.
Oh, that's cool.
We have 14 tanks. They range in size from 500 to 2,150 liters, and they're primarily behind you. Those tanks can produce about 1,700 or 1,800 cases per batch, and so with 3 times a year, we can produce nearly 5,000 cases a year.
Wow.
Also, if we wished, we could continue to move up into taller tanks. That would enable us to provide even more volume on a daily, monthly, and yearly basis. So it's pretty good. We do try and make all the wines at one time and then bottle before we start making the next set. Therefore, we can ensure
consistency,
and that you're not getting transfers of yeast. Every yeast will produce a different result. So we want to make sure that we're doing.
So is there a possibility for expansion, like when you guys purchase, like do you have so that you could build on more? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can, like I said, at 5,000 cases per year, we would be considered a medium-sized winery. If you took out the top 20 players in British Columbia, the large wineries produce somewhere between kind of 10 and 15,000 cases per year. Wow. So if you take out the Mission Hills,
big guys,
all those, and then the medium-sized wineries are somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 cases. There's a lot of family-run wineries that do 800 to 1,200, 1,500 cases per year. So we'll be actually considered medium-sized. We can fit about 1,700 to 2,000 cases in this room. To give you an idea, the first tank that we bottled with the bumbleberry, that's the stack at the back, and that was right to the ceiling, and that was our first bottle. Wow. So that's one tank. We have bottled 2 tanks. We're now going to start bottling the rest of them every couple of weeks for the remainder of the summer. So we'll have a release almost every 2 weeks. And so when we empty all those tanks out, we'll refill and we'll start again. But this room is going to be very, very full.
Very full, yeah.
But luckily, we think people in Prince George will help us empty it out.
Have you been brushing shoulders with all the restaurants in town? Like, I heard that Nancy O's was here.
So we have had great feedback from all the restaurants in town, and we've already got commitments from a lot of them.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And they would like to get us in as soon as possible. So we think that we'll start showing up in restaurants within the next 2 to 3 weeks or so.
Nice.
But Shiraz and Nancy O's have already committed, and I would expect to see us being released in a lot of the other ones, whether it's
I'm not surprised because we have so many. We're so fortunate that we have so many restaurants in town, owned by people, run by people that are very much about local. Exactly. So this is perfect, right?
Yeah. And one of the fun things, See, we really, again, are pushing that education piece because we think that the education will enable you to use the wines in a way that's going to make you enjoy them a lot more. So it'll change your mind about what a fruit wine was and what it is, but it's still important that you have the right wine with the right food. And that's what our partners are going to be able to provide for us. So we will primarily be selling out of here with the exception of with the restaurant partners. We may do some small releases through the BC liquor stores, but at this volumes there we can actually sell mostly out of here initially. And then as we go forward and we expand and people's education expands with it, then we'll start increasing.
Are you going to start touching the small number of wine festivals we have? Like we have the PG Playhouse runs theirs was it November or?
Yeah, it's in November
the international,
Yeah, we expect to be at the wine festival at the Exploration Place this year. We will also work with other restaurants if they're doing wine and food pairing nights or wine dinners. So yes, we will try and support the community as much as possible. If their interest level is there, then we will certainly be there.
Well, the Exploration Place one sells out within a matter of hours, so there's always going to be demand there. But I said we'll talk about after about a few other things that may be happening.
That sounds great. So I don't have the strawberry rhubarb seduction wine to show you. That one's bottled. I've got another tank of it I'm going to bottle, but unfortunately I can't give you a sample of that one. But it's had a huge response.
I heard about
so far. And people who have tried the samples out of the tanks, we've already got a pre-order list going because they're so excited they want it as soon as it's released. That one's going to be released in the next week and a half or so.
That's
cool.
I'm coming back.
But we do have a few different wines down here that we can give you a little sample of. But I think primarily I'm gonna lead you towards the Heritage Haskell.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of grape wine drinkers in the house here, but this I believe is the most similar to a grape red that we have. The whites are very similar across the board. We can get whites that are very similar to a grape.
Right.
It's got a little more fruit forward flavor, but you can get the acids, you can get the finishes, the body, the texture that a grape wine does have. But the reds, it's a little hard. So to do all these extra things that we can do to make it a very dry version, then it's all the winemaking process and drying it out. Usually you're building the alcohol content up a little bit more when you do so. So a lot of our reds will be around 13% alcohol content. Therefore we can bring that sweetness right out of it. So I'll give you a little sample. This one here, it's got like a eucalyptus nose. This one is a blend of the blueberry and the Haskap berry. Haskap is also known as honeyberry, and it has some infused oak into it, this one here, but we'll be barrel aging other batches in the future.
That's cool. I like the idea of infusing the oak.
Yeah. I think this is the berry we tried out there.
So just a reminder that this is very green right now.
Very young,
So it's very green, but it'll give you a bit of an idea on the dryness of how dry we can get it, the nose, bringing that fruit forward.
Really good.
You can get a little bit of tannin on there, and you also get the acid on the finish, right? So this will be our high.
From an aroma standpoint, you can. It does smell very. If you gave it to somebody who didn't know anything like myself, I wouldn't know the difference.
Well, it's very, and then the color too.
I love the color on this.
When is this going to be ready?
So this one here will come out around the same time as the Cuvée Blanc. Sometime in August we'll be releasing this. Yeah, probably mid-August.
Is the fermentation process the same length as grape wines?
Yes. So actually, the process from the start of the fermentation to the finishing of the wine is about the same as a grape wine.
Okay.
Usually it's 3 to 4 months before you can finish it and get ready for bottling. But grape wines, you can only start them once a year, whereas fruit wines, you can start them multiple times a year.
Right.
And that's where you get the advantage of being able to have less equipment and produce more out of those tanks. So typically a grape winery will only actually have wine in their tanks for 4 or 5 months, and then they'll either transfer them for barrel aging or they'll start bottling them, and then they just sit there for the rest of the time.
So these can be constantly used.
These will be constantly used, absolutely. So the Heritage Hascap, the biggest problem we have is it's really hard to find the berry. There's not a lot of farmers that actually produce this. We do have one partner just on our side of Quesnel called Heritage Farms, which is why we're calling it Heritage Hascap. And we've entered into an agreement with him, a lease agreement that allows us to have 100% of his harvest for the next 5 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he's also producing the blackcurrant berry and also producing Saskatoons for us.
Oh, that's
Wow.
cool.
And we're also working with farms like Sweeterberry in Prince George and Rainbowberry, and we have a few more partners that we're looking at. Also this fall we're considering trying to put forward a program for local residents to actually harvest some of their fruit, either for them or with them. Could be as part of a bear awareness or prevention plan for the city, so we're going to try and involve the community as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
No, you know, for us, the volume won't be substantial.
But it's getting the community involved.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You know, we really believe in healthy wines as well. So we are working towards reducing any sulfites in our wine as much as possible. You'll notice that our wines are very low in sulfur right now, our sulfites, but we'll eventually, hopefully, move towards eliminating them entirely. We also are looking at the superfruits or the berries, sort of the goji berry over there, that produce positive health effects. And the university is looking at different research programs we could do with them to get a little more of that research out. And then also we're moving towards being herbicide and pesticide free. On our
But not deer free, apparently, according to your phone.
There's a few deer around. But you know, we're trying to use different methods of deterring any animals, such as fencing around plants that they like, electric fences, and also there's different ways of deterring bears and deer, such as you know, you would consider them all wives' tales, but actually there's some science behind them. You can even use mothballs and whatnot around the area, and what it does is it has a bit of a chemical that hurts the scent for bears, so they stay away from them. So there's different things you can do, and we're trying to stay as positive from an impact standpoint to the animals as possible. And then we'd also like to move towards being organic over time.
That's cool.
So that would be our goal would be to get an organic certification eventually.
I think you're fortunate to have Noemi, is that her name?
Yes.
Because she seems very passionate about what she does.
She is the best in the business,
Yeah.
and if you look at any winery starting in British Columbia, to have a team like ours, I think it would be a stack. I mean, you just mentioned her and all of her knowledge and her passion in organic and hardy northern tree fruits and berries. You know, Wendy Stevens and her experience with Quailsgate, being in our sales shop and understanding the sales aspect, the wine aspect, and our Christine Rue, our winemaker, being the winemaker for the largest fruit winery in BC and understanding all the new techniques and winemaking. Where we feel very, very well.
I think you have a recipe for success. And then you're very...
I think that gives you an idea of how dry we can make it, obviously being green, but some of the blends that really make a difference. So we are going to have ones like that are really developed for the traditional grape wine drinker who wants bold reds. They want their tannin, their acid. You know, they're really looking for a good steak type wine. They want to age them, that kind of thing. All the way up to the bumbleberry, which is on the sweeter side of the reds, which is it can be an everyday wine. You can drink it early. You could use it after dinner for desserts, or you could use it with the dinner, and you can use it in those scenarios.